Very good afternoon to all the respected dignitaries, speakers, and participants. I am Taba Shamim, and I will be your co-host. I'll be your host for the post-lunch session. Yeah. We now move to panel discussion from literature to learning, embedding biodiversity informatics in India. We'll be focusing on workflows, education, and scalable practices that shape the future for biodiversity informatics. We have Dr. Julia Geora, a Brazilian biologist with over 20 years of experience in biodiversity research and higher education. She currently leads the learning and engagement team at Plazi, working globally on fair scientific data and training initiatives. Joining her is Dr. Felipe Simões, project and team manager at Plazi, Brazil, whose work focuses on transforming scientific literature into accessible, reusable digital knowledge with a strong emphasis on data quality, standardization, and fair data practices. We are also joined by Dr. Atika Chandra, professor at the Department of Botany, Maitreyi College, University of Delhi. With nearly 25 years of teaching and research experience, her work spans plant genetics, genetically modified crops, and plant evolution. Next, we have Dr. Somdatta Sinha Roy. She has a PhD in botany from the University of Delhi. Her research has focused on root biology of grasses, particularly species in arid areas. We are also joined by Dr. Yamal Gupta, Assistant Professor in Department of Botany at Kirorimal College, University of Delhi. She holds a PhD in botany from the University of Delhi itself, with research focused on the generation of metal nanoparticles using microbial culture media and plants. It is truly a pleasure to have such a distinguished panel with us for today's discussion. And we have Dr. Gitanjali Yadav, Senior Scientist at NIPGR and co-founder of the Semantic Climate. Her work integrates multiple disciplines to address challenges in biodiversity and climate science. Yeah, Dr. Yadav will be moderating the session, and I invite all of you to lead the discussion.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, now I think it is working. So brilliant. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for the time that all of us have spent on this workshop till now. One, apologies. Well, I have the vote of thanks tomorrow to apologize and to thank. That we'll do later. So anyway, what I want to say that over the past 2 days, basically all of you have seen and we together have seen how biodiversity knowledge can be liberated from literature. So that is the specific idea that we have for this workshop. The question now is, and this is something you need to think about today as well as tomorrow when we do self-study. The question is, how do we take this learning that we have gained into the classrooms, back into our research, back into our campuses for real world learning environments? So that is the main question we are going to be dealing. I want you all to ask this to yourself in your own fields, in your own ways. So you have learned some bit of theory, some bit of tools, but the question is, how do we scale it? So who we have on the panel today are people who are, of course, the Plazi team building the semantic toolkit, me representing the semantic tool, Plazi building the taxonomy treatment bank toolkit, me building the semantic toolkit along with my friends, colleagues, as well as intern students. We also have faculty members from different colleges of the University of Delhi who are also delegates of this workshop with us on stage today. And they are now these faculty members are handling several things, but most importantly for the relevance to this particular meeting or panel, they are handling campus botanical gardens, campus biodiversity. Also, they are building coursework in biodiversity informatics and training students. And there is also faculty members among us who have trained themselves previously on workshops that we conducted and are using those tools for doing research with students as well as their collaborators. So having academia and both research in the room along with the toolkit builders, the only thing we are missing is industry, but I'm hoping some of you would represent industry for us and answer or comment to the right kind of questions. So the first thing that I have on this panel is welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining us at a short notice. Plazi instructors, may I have the first question to you, Julia, and to Felipe, both of you jointly. In your experience globally, what changes when biodiversity data like this, like you have shown us, gets liberated from literature? When you've been running many courses like this. So what is the major things that you've seen? Should I sit here or I can hold it here also? Shall I sit here only? Thank you. Light मेरे ऊपर नहीं आना चाहिए. Please. Did you get the question? Because I speak in Hindi without realizing. Remind me I have to speak in English.
No, you
Okay.
you did speak in English. Yeah. We okay, we have experienced the courses many times in different communities, and mainly when we talk with communities that are completely unaware of FAIR, or if they think that they understand FAIR, but they are misunderstanding it with open data. The first thing we can see is the way the eyes change for the publications, the way we publish.
The way we see publications or read them.
Publication, yeah.
Okay.
So like the way we publish them, the structure of the papers, the people and students and also professors, they start thinking the way they publish to be fair, to don't create legacy data, but create updated data and available data. So this is the first thing. I think that everybody thinks it's a human thing. We think about you before. So at first, the first thing is like this. How am I publishing? Oh yeah, I can see my publication there, and I can see that it will be much better for me, for my visibility, for the visibility and quotation of my work. So I have to rethink the way I am publishing. This is the first thing that I can see from the courses. When it finished, people are changed by that. And the second thing is the opportunities to have new projects with the reuse of
Importantly,
yeah.
yes.
After the courses, many people are like overwhelmed with all this data extraction.
So we are overwhelmed also,
So
many of us.
Few of people really think about projects for extraction, projects along with us. It happens, always happens once in a while, but the majority of the participants of the courses, they change the way they publish, the way they see the publication, and they start having new thoughts about how to research with reuse. Like just now understanding the beautiful of linking.
Yes,
That's
yes.
the difference between fair and open. I think this will be
So perfect. Thank you so much. I would like to ask the next question to one of our academic faculty members. From your perspective, maybe Somdata, I'll put the question to you first. Do students today I should say do faculty and yourselves, but do students, because you're teachers, do students today realize how much knowledge is locked in literature? Or is this a completely new way of thinking from students' perspective?
Uh, in my point of view, a lot of students actually do not have,
They are aware or not aware?
not aware, not aware. They are more into, they understand bioinformatics better than when we were students, maybe. That is given. But I think more of the bioinformatics that they understand is in terms of the genes and molecular level.
Papers.
As repositories and not papers, and they don't think in terms of that these informations and overall a better information is available in the papers.
So is it a new way of thinking then?
It is, I would say. And if they learn to do this, I think even for their little small projects, it will come out more wholesome, more rounded kind of a study rather than a very one directional study that they generally land up doing. If you're giving them a particular gene or something to do, they'll just study about that. But you have to think genes, in my point of view, as terms of diversity, so to speak, a part of biodiversity.
Genetic diversity.
It's genetic diversity. So you have to think in those terms. And I don't think they have somewhere linked in. It's more that you go to PubMed and you take out this gene, you see if it matches with other things. They're more into that rather than thinking, papers as a thing.
Okay. I want to extend. Do you have another answer? Do you have some add-ons to either of you? Because then I'll put other questions. If you do, Yamal, please.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me on the panel. I think students are some of, in my view, I think students come up with the queries saying that this paper is not fully opening, it's not in a readable format.
Yeah.
So, the platforms like Plazi, they would be helpful for them.
It would be.
Yes, it would be helpful.
So my question to you in continuation, keep it, Yamal, my question was, the follow-up question was to you only,
Okay.
that as a university teacher again, why should you or your colleagues or your students care about fair, I hope you've understood fair after these 2 days, fair data and literature extraction? And this question follows on to you also,
So,
Antrika.
fair data, I think I have already, I have worked with other softwares. I have, as Gitanjali ma'am, mentioned, I have already had another earlier workshops, and I had trained students on using other toolkits
That you learned
that
first
I
and were
learned,
able to.
and then I introduced it to my students, so they know how to handle the databases. So with this semantic and the
Plazi toolkit.
Plazi toolkit, they'll be more updated. They will be able to differentiate between the two.
Yes.
And how important it is to make new tools. So Plazi also, it gives a new lens on how to study taxonomy for that matter, and how it can be used. So it is. And for fair, since I also learned that fair means fully AI readable.
Yes.
So, with the limitation with the other databases is that it is only the metagenomics that we can extract.
Yes.
So, with the FAIR, the students, as I mentioned, they are aware that, the papers are not fully
Yes.
readable, and they want to read the full paper. Without the context, it doesn't make sense to them. So, if it is a fully readable, fully AI readable, so they can trust the analysis that is being done by the data, by the tool. So that is how I
Another.
yes.
Atika, any follow-up answers to either of the two questions I just put as a teacher? Thank you so much for having me here, Tanjali. So my perspective is also on the similar lines. I agree that some students do know, but I think the majority is not aware of being able to say and link bioinformatics to biodiversity informatics. And it is with that thought that we included a discipline-specific elective paper for our new curriculum under the NEP 2020, which is titled Biodiversity Informatics. And I built that Dr. Gitanjali's work here, and also what we have been studying. Yeah, so in our times as undergraduates and postgraduates, there was only a flora and you were left out on your own, right? Now the field is much wider because they don't go out even into their gardens and they only surf the web. But the minute it's a copyright information, they will very quickly say, "Oh, ये तो मिल नहीं सकता data. We can't access it, so it's
Yes.
delete the paper."
So it doesn't exist basically. Yeah, that's the way we have an
They'll
option.
just bypass.
Yeah.
They'll just go directly to POW and Plants of the World online and say, "There's more information available here. We just download it from here." So we are missing on some small things like just 2 papers that were analyzed in the
In this
class.
workshop.
Yeah. So look at the images. Yeah. So when we are teaching systematics, taxonomy, or evolution, this image thing is totally the wrong ones. We pick up anything available, but the Markanshi in India does not have the same features as outside.
Yeah.
But that neither the teacher is worried about nor the student. It is obvious. We are just doing it for the sake of doing it.
So
But
a
you
lot
have
of
to put-
practicals, could not this be brought into be not possible?
Exactly. This is where we need to start understanding that n- even image, I mean, they will take images, but they don't know how to analyze those images. So simple herbaria that are there should be scanned and right from day one. Now the students can. We did not have phones.
Yes.
Yeah, we did have. And the DSLRs, we would be like
Yes.
trail mates of the senior
Yes.
and, walk around the entire ridge
That's
and
true.
collect pictures.
I remember.
But they would help us to understand that there's a difference between this Commelina species and the other. Yeah, and you could correlate it later, but there is neither the time nor the incentive. Yeah. So right now, I think that to bring authenticity, what I have learned in Plazi Toolkit and the year before I attended GBIF meeting, it has changed my perspective on systematics and evolution education.
That's right.
And the idea of being able to integrate the learning. Yeah. Because they're not just students and we have to stop looking at them like that. They are the ones who are going to be manning your ministries. These are the people
Future
on,
generations.
yeah. And it's not just, unless until they are awed by it. Yeah.
Then
I
they
mean,
won't.
I remember every trek that our teachers have taken us to. Yeah. You harvest this from here. We did not remember that which cliff we were hanging on, but we needed that sample. So here they are. "बहुत धूप है, it's too sunny, it's too hot, it's rainy." They will not even come into a classroom. So the COVID has sent us, yeah, the COVID has sent us inside, all right, but we are not introspecting on how will I contribute as a botanist. Yeah. One single tree species is home to so many others, not just above, but under the ground as well. We're going to lose so much without even telling them that there is so much. So I think that Plastic Toolkit is amazing, and my recommendation would be to revamp using only GBI. We would
The
use
course.
this as well. Yes, definitely.
Yes.
And how we are really going to play it out.
Yeah.
So incremental knowledge. So under the NEP, we are saying that there is a skill component and there is a knowledge component.
Yeah.
But right now we are saying just let the first years, just let them get the theory right, let them get their terms and definitions right.
Yeah.
But if they were to understand that in 3 of these publications or in their own college museum, the material that was collected 20 years back
Is
and
there
new
for them to research on. Yeah.
there are many which we don't find because
Yeah.
every year you have an ecology practical.
Yes.
People are collecting. You don't find many of them because there is every year you have a new building coming up and even
Things
the
are getting
grasses are.
disappeared. Yeah. Yeah. No, but there's a story there that can be studied, and they don't know
Beautiful
that.
story. So I believe that with all the things on Viksit Bharat, NSQEF, the whole thing comes to what and how we can really bring that grounding to them in their classroom and in their practical classrooms particularly. But yeah, go out, take the images, look for this particular member in the herbaria,
Yeah.
take the scan and you analyze the image. Just one plant, just one image.
Thanks, Satika.
No,
Oh,
I think
that's
that
great.
your work was always very exciting to me coming from genetics and all. But yeah, I mean, the
Let's take it.
bioinformatics that the world understands is only upon being able to only, kind of retrieve the information.
That's right.
Yeah. Now they are learning HTML code
More than
right from 9th standard.
Yes.
When they come to college, they are straight into Python.
Yes.
Yeah. But double quotes, data science, biology data
Yeah.
is a total different thing. So I think biological data mining
Yes.
should also be separated into
Wonderful.
its components. Before I continue, you have something to say before I continue to ask the next question to Atika only.
No, I just want to add a couple of points to what you guys were saying, and again, thanks for having me here. The one of the main reasons I think this is happening is there is so much pressure nowadays to specialize. So you end up specializing so much into genetics or bioinformatics that there is not enough space for you to think about the rest, right? If you think about the great naturalists of the world, like for 200 years ago, 300 years ago, they were very wide and broad in what they were studying, and so they considered the whole thing. I had these discussions with professors back in uni, and they were from a generation that still did that, but they were sort of the last ones to do that. Ever since that, for the last 56 years, it's been gradually going more and more specific, and it's easy to lose track of the rest, right? So that's one thing. And the other thing, coming back to the start of this discussion, is the concepts of FAIR are all around us on our daily basis, and sometimes we don't realize it. If you go on YouTube right now, probably every single video on YouTube relies on FAIR to create content. And we're basically doing the same thing, but for science. Like AI nowadays relies heavily on that whole thing being fair. So why not for what we do in science? And the final small thing that also comes up to one of the earlier points here is that we forget that everything that we publish is our legacy. It's quite common that I've seen researchers forget that they've published stuff. Their own research is forgotten by themselves because it's like, oh, I need to publish the other paper because I need to answer to my research council or university board, and that one is done. It's counting already for my statistics. I need to think of the next one. But when you really think about everything that you're leaving behind, you will do a better job at thinking, oh, I need to leave a proper job behind, like with all the details that people will use. Otherwise, you get a mess of data that even you yourself cannot use. What did I write here? I don't remember. So yeah.
Which in fact, that brings me to the question I should have probably started this panel with, and that question is to the audience. How many of you are undergraduate students today in India, wherever you are? Raise your hands. Undergrad students. How many of you are on a program where you have a research component in your curriculum that you are studying? Others don't have it at all. There's no research curriculum for those who are not raising their hands, like no research, no internship, nothing? Or is there any research component necessarily part of your curriculum? That's what. So how many of you have that? Raise your hand so that I get some idea about. Almost all of you have that. Now, that is why I have a question. This was not earlier so. Earlier, it was a voluntary thing some people wanted to do and master's students used to have. But now, undergraduate students in India under the new program have a research component. From your perspective, Felipe and Julia, when you perform such workshops, now we have done in the past, what you have taught here is fair extraction and also reuse. Now, how many people generally, just give me a rough idea, 50-50, 70-20, 90-10, how many people take the learnings that you bring and put it into their research for fair extraction, and how many for reuse? Because these are two very distinct things. You could take up reuse. You could just decide I'm interested in the dolphin, the Gangetic dolphin. I'm not going to go and find the dolphin, but I'm going to reuse the existing data on the Gangetic dolphin and write a paper. You can do that reuse using this Plazi toolkit, using the semantic toolkit. You can just analyze, meta-analyze, find the pattern. The other is you say, I'm a Gangetic dolphin researcher. I sit in the swamps of the Sundarbans and I'm looking at the Gangetic dolphin, and therefore I'm going to generate and create create the treatment banks, and there is not enough data. So I'm going to use the Plazi toolkit to put my papers as well as my colleagues' papers into extraction. Do you follow up to, is there any follow up like this, or is it a general thing, or do more people do reuse and few do extraction, or vice? Did you get my question?
Concerning undergrads or
No, generally your workshop delegates, people who listen to you, what do they do? Do they go back and do extraction, or do they do reuse, or do they do both?
yeah, we have different audiences in our courses. So when we are talking about audiences like that we have some undergrads and undergrad students and then some professionals, yeah, they mostly go for reuse, like thinking about Colombia. We have been there for 2 courses, one for undergrad and I don't know, maybe PhD students, and the other just for professors. They were just interested in reuse.
Because you have
Yeah.
paper to reuse also.
Yeah.
You have millions.
So when we went to South Africa, again, we have reuse. Then we had 2 persons there, that the person that organized the workshop. They were interested in liberating data from their research.
Specific interest.
Yeah, specific interest. So we go back, I don't know, to last year in the U.S.
Yes.
So we had a lot of people there and they were just interested in reuse. But in the middle, we had a researcher that was the leader of a research group, a paleontology research group. So with their people, we create a different project to liberate data from their lab and their journals and then create dashboard. So we have this outcome from the course. We have the increase of number of people that are reusing data, and we have some particular persons creating projects to liberate data, but for their group of research, their lab, their institution. The same in Berlin right now. We are having a group that wants everybody likes to see the dashboard. Beautiful.
Yes.
To have a dashboard that's very functional, very good for you to to manage your group, your research group, all the publications of the interest that you have. So people want that, but to have that, you need to liberate data from that research group. So they are like looking for them. They
Can I say that what I've understood from you is that 90% at least are reuse people, 10% is still there who are extraction people.
yeah, it's like
In this room, how many would be preferentially reuse people? Would anybody want to reuse the data to your existing interest in science? Almost everybody. But is there anybody in the room who would also want to extract the data and put somewhere? So professionals, I suppose. Students generally wait for, so it is the professionals who would want to do. Again, it's the 90-10. Philippe.
The reason why, generally students, they don't have enough of their own research, so that's naturally that you would guys prefer to have reuse. But yeah, so the people that generally want to extract are like curators or leaders of groups that they want to increase the outreach of their own research, because nowadays it's very competitive. We are constantly fighting for attention, basically from the academic world or from the world in general. So one of the big tricks there is try to find ways to get more attention, and that's one way you make your data more available.
And just one more thing about it, it's just everybody knows that we don't have time and we don't have money. So as a researcher and mainly as a student, we don't have time to just spend like, oh yeah, we'll liberate data from this species or
The betterment of the world.
yeah, I love that to see Plazi work and then treatment is so nice and cool. I have to no. So if they don't receive something like, yeah, this is good for my career, this is good for my curriculum, or this pay me to do, they will not do. So reuse is good, and they use because they need to like finish the dissertation. Then they have to. But if not, I don't blame anymore. We don't have time, we don't have money, we will not spend a lot of time extracting data, creating data, just for the good health of science.
That brings me to the next stage or the next phase of this panel discussion. And we'll keep it last unless, Taiba says time up, then I'll close it. But we need to know if currently in what you're learning, and this is for you, for the teachers to answer, but I'm putting the question to everybody. the kind of challenges that we have in creating courses where there is less theory and more workflow. So you see what we have done here in these 2 days is more workflow. It gets boring sometimes. You have to click this, then do this and forget something. But theory, which we have been traditionally taught to learn, eventually without a workflow is not useful because we are not applying it. So to what extent are we teaching theory as against actual workflows, which I think are more application oriented in the different courses, not just biodiversity informatics, but as professional faculty members of so many years, are we focusing more on theory or more on workflows, or is there a 50-50?
To answer to this, I would say it depends, especially in this structure, it depends paper to paper. It varies and course to yes. Total theory paper, biostats, currently biostats, no coding. Yes, they do it Excel and that too only in the practicals. Yes, existing data set. Yes. And then there are, skill enhancement courses also, wherein it is only practical based, no theory. So that's what
Okay.
it varies.
Okay.
Varies.
Anything about challenges that you're facing, or about what are the challenges in setting such a course? Now you have in your hand a biodiversity informatics course. So what are the challenges? Is it a theory or workflow or both? Or
No, there's both. This is a discipline
50-50 or 70-30?
no, it's 70-30 because now 70 is workflow because under the NEP, experiential learning has been stressed upon, and that's why you have only 2 hours of theory and you have a 4-hour practical per week. Yeah, so it's a total 60 hours of practical and 30 of the theory. But in terms of the implementation, the materials get restricted. Yeah, you have restricted access to stuff, to hands-on things. Even though we are fortunate that we have plants, we can fix them and we can cut them. Yeah, but for other systems, it's not there. But in botany particularly, we are able to, like Dr. Yamal mentioned, that we have the skill enhancement courses. So if you have a paper, so there's one paper on tissue culture of plants. So as a hands-on, you can just do the things and show them. Yeah, they understand that, yes, these are the methods. But in a parallel paper in plant biotechnology, we have gone away from even tubes and DNA extractions. We are just doing photos or dry paper sequence retrieval, cut it and show. So those are the things where the student is losing the connect. Yeah. So for example, molecular ecology. Yeah. Very nice integrative theme. But molecules have evolved in ecological basis only. Yeah. So concept of evolution is zero because in NCRT books, the theme is cut out as not for testing. So it's not taught. So
Yeah, that is
how does the shape of a leaf matter to that student even when they come to the final year? It doesn't. It's only the teacher's headache that ये species alag ho gayi. The species are
very
different.
interesting. Is there any?
There's a connection. It has to be there throughout. And I feel that again, if unless we build the awesomeness in biology back, yeah, then that thing is really getting lost. So yeah,
Any comments from the audience on this thing about theory-based or workflow-based learning, or any of you? Please raise your hand and please comment. Taiba will give the mic to. Do we have another mic in the room? Then you can just give the mic to the. She's got a mic. Please raise your hand and participate. Theory and work. Current question is, what is the, you know, as students or as teachers? I know there are teachers in the community. I was searching for Ruchi, but I think Ruchi is traveling today, so she's not here. But
So, as an undergrad student in botany, I do relate to whatever
which
you
year?
I'm in my third year right now. I'll
Okay,
be
so
studying these papers next year. But I don't know if it's the restriction of the curriculum that the university makes. Everything at the end of the day becomes theory, essentially. Like plant biotechnology, it's supposed to be very practical, but we are not doing anything. You're not uh, for example, restriction digestion, it's being taught theoretically. You're not allowed to practice it. You're not allowed to.
Molecular biology.
Yeah. You're not allowed to do SDS. You're not allowed to do page.
But
Nothing.
when you come for an interview to
Yeah.
us for PhD or go
Yeah.
outside India, then they always ask you, you've read it, have you done it also? Questions will always be in the sense of practical,
Exactly.
practical workflow experience.
Exactly. So that is lacking from a lot of it. And when you read the syllabus, for example, if I were to send my syllabus to someone outside India, they will think, oh my God, they are studying so much.
Brilliant.
SDS bhi aata hai, isko ye bhi aata hai, wo bhi aata
You
hai.
are studying those things, yeah.
Yeah. We are studying it, but not practically. We are just studying the basis of it. We are just studying the application of it. I don't know if it's because the restriction of the resources or other things, but at the end of the day, it does get very theory intensive and not practical or hands-on.
So you would prefer a workflow-oriented
Yes,
courses.
exactly.
Would definitely
Even in bioinformatics or papers like biostatistics, a lot of it gets down to screenshotting and making files instead of actually learning the concepts behind it.
Well, do you have
Not actually a comment, is more of a question from someone that is not from here. Is like, so if I understand correctly, there is an uncertainty of why there is a lack of practical work. So like a lack of resources. Is it also an ethical dilemma?
Our class sizes are like 40, at least 40. So I think, I don't know if you have more, around 40, 40, 50, 40. So getting everybody to a space and letting everybody run becomes a problem. So a lot of it, I do understand from the time that I was an undergraduate student, the course has changed towards things. No, I'll not comment on, I don't want to compare apples and oranges because it is really apples and oranges. So I would say that, because a lot of modern things have come, the molecular biology has completely exploded. So there is a lot of information and you do want to give it to your students. Very frankly, you want them to know about it at least. So what has happened, but it's more very technical thing because we have that many number of students, we have newer things to teach. So the older things, like the way we were taught ecology, we were taken to the wilder spaces to do our basic, community studies. These people do it in their college campuses, which are completely like, there's nothing in there. You just know there are like 10 species in there which they're going to, right? I'm not wrong. So they're maximum 10 species that they get when they do it. Okay. So they hardly know. So even if you tell them it's not their fault, but they hardly know a plant. So most of the time I'll be like telling my students, by the time you graduate, at least I'm going to pump in 15, 20 names in your brain so that they're imprinted. But it's not their fault technically. It's not. It's a system, and it's a evolving system which is pressurized by a lot of students who are coming in, and you want them to know new things, but the time that is given, the amount of information that is going on, it is impossible for each of them to run a gel. So everything is now PPTs and pictures, and they're told that this is how it is. This is what you are supposed to do. So our students are extremely good in the theory part, but I suppose they do lack when they have to perform it. And it has happened to us also. Like when I was a undergrad, I had to run an HPLC, and we are no dearth of human resource. So most of our university, instruments are run by technicians. Yes. So I think so for our research also, all we did was to prepare the sample and give it. So I did HPLC like that, and like everybody else, I wrote it in my CV. So when I went for my postdoc and I was told to do it, I had to actually sit on the machine and learn everything. Not that I did not. So I knew enough theory to sit there on the machine for 2 non-stop days and kind of take help from a Chinese postdoc who was there. And I could run it and I managed it. And then I had a machine of my own which was running perfectly fine. But it did pose a trouble, and that is how the system runs there. Lot of time. Okay, because the machines are expensive. You need money for them. So if you let them run and one of them is not careful and it goes, then it goes for everybody. So can't blame the system also too much.
I agree that resources are less, but are not bringing the practical into some bit of practical part is also leading to a very big skill gap in our industries. And this is why our own system in education is also having that gap, because our technicians are not from that time at all. So they are not even appreciative of the fact that you have some advancements. So if we lose them now, then we have lost a whole big cadre of people who will man these institutions. So what will be the institution without the person who is looking after one particular thing? I think a small glitch that we had in the morning with others not being able to see what's happening here on your screen is a big failure. The question that I was trying to ask in this particular session, and I was thinking, what is the main line that I wanted to, what I think what I really want to ask, and when one of you answered it also was, can biodiversity informatics move from a niche skill to a core competency that, let's say, botany students or zoology students have as an application? And for that alone, just to make it a core competency that they go out and graduate and say in their CV, this is my core competency. For that, my question to you, Julia and Felipe, is can these workflows that you have just taught, can these realistically be taught as a semester course? Because what Ruchi told me was that there are semester courses. And I think you guys will agree. Absolutely, semester. So, no, but the question is, what is a minimum viable module? You've taught it in 2 days, but what is a minimum viable module that would be a core competency for these students in both zoo and botany and maybe life sciences course? Do you have a minimum viable module for a semester course?
You're more.
Yeah, 6 weeks minimum,
Yeah,
I would say.
I think
Minimum.
that it depends a lot of the number of students in a room, for sure. Because like you see here today, we are everybody doing the same paper. And it was like Felipe and I know it was very okay. But yeah, first time I was teaching this course, we were like, we need guinea pigs. So we went to my university, Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul, like my people, my ground. So we just had people that was doing the masters and the PhD, and they were like 40 in a room. And then me and other two quasi members, everybody doing one paper that of their choices. It was a mess, and we was like we were in the entire week there because some got stuck, some got very difficult papers, and the others were like, whoa, very sharp, and then they had 3 papers done, and then what they have, Julia, I have free time now, and they, wow. So it depends on the number of students. It's doable. It is doable, yeah, and but we have to.
Yeah, no, I think from a personal perspective of, like, I've been with Plazi since pretty much the very start of the Porto Alegre office in Brazil. And the learning stage of the current employees took a few months. So nothing can be achieved in 1 week. And but it's more, it's not as much as about using the tool itself, but getting the concepts to to get inside your brain and gradually, like, get fixed there, and you really understand what it is, and you remember that well when you started, like about like 2-3 months in, it's like, now I finally understand what I'm. So in a way, maybe 3 months, if you're asking about a time frame.
Yeah. So
I would say like 3 months would be at
exactly,
least.
because our semesters are 4 months. We agree. That's what I was specifically saying, 6 weeks minimum just for the Plazi toolkit and maybe a little bit of semantic. So yeah, the grounding is there. So as an undergraduate is now coming out into a master's, they are well equipped to move into an environmental science research lab and facilitate at least the data acquisition,
Exactly.
if nothing else. Yeah. Yeah, UNEP. Yeah. And yes. Yeah.
And
And this is for you, Samrata, because you mentioned I've been to your college. I've been to the botanic garden. With the botanical gardens and even zoological gardens or herbaria in colleges, is it possible to make these spaces more than mere display or photoing, like students learn what all is there, into data generation resources or data creation or research project resources? What is your view on that?
I think that will be the best use of that space that we have. So like we have around like 75, 80, nearly 90 this time actually, plants there. Even if I am able to get my students to extract every year, or, the group of students working on some data on that plant, and you have so much of information. You have phytochemistry, you have the genetics, and we have so much, focus on from the government side on the herbal medicines usages, because, the traditional knowledge, so to speak. So it is a huge amount of things, and that's what I realized, because when I sat here, it was more about biodiversity, but the biodiversity is connected to so many other things. That's what, like, over the 2 days that you have kind of demonstrated, so there's so much other data attached to it. So obviously, then it becomes so much. So if I can get just from the data extract, not the data extraction, usage, reuse point of view, there is so much information that can be used by to do these small student projects, which they are supposed to do at the end of their semesters and things. So it's a huge amount that, and if we can get that back somehow, those results that they're getting back onto your thing, which is linked. So why not? Then somebody else can take it forward. Maybe we cannot take everything forward experimentally by us, but that information should not go wasted. The human hours, what the student is putting it is being used somewhere by somebody else, which is fine. That is what science is about. That is what progress is about. So I think that will be wonderful to kind of, use that resource and kind of get into this.
Yeah, I would say, as teachers, our job should be to excite students and to, show them direction, give them some short projects which they can do, and wherein I think you mentioned that we can, ask the students to go back and look into any particular specimen, and then they can even compare the phenology, because when you are collecting the sample, yes, that can also be done. So we also have to come up with the ideas which we can, because yes, then we have to show some path to them, and then we have to ask them, ask them to ask questions to themselves, and then only we have to excite them actually. On their own, I don't think so, at this same. So
Even I think all the colleges, at least in BU, I know they have their own herbaria, which are really old. Yeah, they will have all botany.
Around 100, 150. It's still developing. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, if I can say something, I'm not from India, but we are from Brazil, and we are listening to you, and a lot of things are in common. We have a lot of people, a lot of biodiversity, the diverse biodiversity, we are hotspot of biodiversity, and we have like low money. And then and we have very excited and very amazing students. So that I truly believe that this is a possibility, because we can put all this together in projects. If we have human resources, good human resources, we have our biodiversity, we have data there, and we have to highlight and reuse this data and bringing all the light that we need for our biodiversity. And we doing that, not somebody else, but we can do that without increasing money, putting money. So this is a huge opportunity for the professors and for the students. As a teacher, I always heard like, oh, teacher, professor, when it will be my time to describe a species like you, I would have a paper describing a species. Yeah, maybe it will take a long time, but you have the opportunity to publish studies, publish papers with very relevant information using these tools, and they are open and they are free. We don't have to even buy the license. So I think this is an opportunity. And again, I'm very pleased to be here, because the Global South, I must talk with the Global South with my heart full, more than to the North Hemisphere, because we need this kind of things, solutions to have discussions and publications and light in our biodiversity with low budget. Yeah.
Very quickly, we're almost done. Okay. No, just one thing is, at the very least, all this will increase awareness. Even if someone decides not to do anything, they are made aware, and they will spread the awareness. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And one other thing with the whole discussion on the global south is that through our collaborations and workshops.
South-South collaboration.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll now call it a South-South.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
North is allowed.
But we've noticed as well that it's easier for people in the global south to understand what we are striving to do better, because sometimes in the north, they are like comfortable with their situation and they don't realize, okay, but why would I do that? I get the data that I want from.
No, so we have the data. We have the data, we have the resources, we now also have the workflows. What we are missing is for each one of you as students to start using it. Unless you start using it in small projects, summer internships, self-interest, something just to add to your own CV, only then it all comes alive. Otherwise, it remains locked, stuck, and a graveyard of what we call as data. The only way to change it is for you people to make use of these. And therefore, I'm insisting, and now I'm going to, because I get to be the convener and make an announcement, tomorrow's presentations are not going to be PowerPoint presentations. Each one of you has to make a poster. PowerPoint को full scale paper पे बना के poster बना के देना है आपने. The poster will have a title. It will have 4 or 5 things you did, you started, you ended, your final assessment, whether it is reuse or generation, whatever you did with the toolkit, present it to us as single page, a single A4 size poster on the screen, which we will put tomorrow for each team. And then I'll make sure that the semantic tells you how to publish that poster. So when you go from this workshop, you have a DOI in your name. Does that sound okay? You'll have to do it. Now we'll have to do it. Absolutely. Any last comments from everybody? Because I'm the only one speaking. Particularly in the context of rich biodiversity, a whole lot of Sanskrit and Indian traditional text is also now being translated. So there's a whole lot of biodiversity logged in. And for example, Kalpavriksha, different texts talk about a different plant being the Kalpavriksha. So that in itself is a yeah, and ethnobotanical angle to it, because everyone has used it in a different way. So I think that yeah, this fuses what is what they're learning from systematics, evolution to to their entire things right up till the pharmaceutical industry, because that's where they want the botanists or biologists to be able to, extract the molecules of interest. So, thank you.
I think I'm just very excited about this tool, and I'm just waiting to get some fresh hands. I'm talking about my students. Get hold of them and get them.
Yeah, same. So I'm also excited, as I mentioned in the conversation, that I came with a very open mind, that I didn't know what I'm going to learn from here, but I'm very happy and that I attended this, workshop.
Yeah. Okay. And for my last speech here today, in this, not today, but in this panel, thank you very much for having us and with this discussion together that we have been like discussing in the over food, but now with everybody. That Donut, our president that you saw uh, yesterday, he always said that we have to be in all the places talking and talking just to spread the word. And like we sometimes we complain, oh yeah, we travel and we go there, and then after that people like use for 1 month too, and then we lost track of people. But and he always said, no problem, that's no problem, we must be there and they must know us and they must know that this exists. And in the other time, on the other opportunity, somebody will talk a little bit about it. Yeah, I know that. I remember Julie. I remember Pazi. So yeah, I'm very happy to just to be here, and then it's no pressure in using everybody using. We know that's a process. We know that we will lose track with a lot of people, but if we could like have this is just the beginning, have a future together, I would be completely pleased and to be with you online, to be with you in messages and Google meetings, because we have an ocean and some seas between us. But we can be together again in person, like with organization. But we know that's a process. And as Donat said, we must be in the places just speaking. The first time, it's always like awkward, but it will be getting better. And I hope you have this first seed in your in your heart.
Taiba, come on stage. You can
I'm
come on
done.
stage.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Taiba, do you want to some comments to just give, and then we'll go?
Yeah, I thank all the panelists for joining us today and sharing their valuable insights. We'll now break for high tea and